Hello everyone, Carol Lundy here again with another video. Today I'm going to show you freestanding lace. And I have here a scroll design that I've designed myself, and I want to turn that into a lace design. Now I recommend when you're creating a lace design that you create your design first. So decide on your shape and create your actual design before you make it into lace. And you need to go through and be very careful of a few things when you're thinking about doing lace. One of them is that you don't have any huge open areas. So I've zoomed in on this design, but if I go back to 1:1, you can see that my largest open areas, well, I have got quite a big open area here, but it's got little embellishments through it. So there's no really huge open expanses in this design. Now I'll just zoom back in again for you. The other thing is that if you want to use satin stitch, that you don't have a satin stitch that is too wide. So with this satin stitch here, after I designed it, I used the carving stamp to create this second row of needle penetrations through the middle. Whoops. Just undo that. I have a terrible habit of clicking when I don't mean to. There is no wide satin stitches left in this design. The other thing is on your underlay, you need to be careful that you do really good underlay. So if I just select this part here and go to the object properties and go to the effects underlay, and you can see that I've used a step underlay and I've applied underlay 2 as well, which is the edge walk, to try and give crisped edges. When you're digitizing onto what we're going to use as a mesh netting underneath to hold the lace together, when you're digitizing onto that, it's not like digitizing onto fabric. You haven't got you've got little gaps. So by using the edge walk, you create a border for your satin stitch to work to. I like edge walk around satin anyway, even on fabric, because it gives a nice crisp edge, but particularly when you're doing lace. So I've done that on every object that I've created in this design. I have used both the step and the edge walk underlay. Okay. And the other thing is to go through your design to make sure you eliminate as many, if not all, of your jump stitches. So I've done a video on embedding to remove jump stitches, and I've done other ways of removing jump stitches in previous videos. So please go back and look at those if you aren't familiar with how to do that. And basically perfect your whole design. So create it with objects, and if you need to do running stitches underneath to get from one object to another, check your start and end points, and make sure your whole design is perfect. So once I'd created that, I then needed to create my mesh underlay. And I just need one complete. The reason I've done the design first is that I've had to use the remove overlaps tool in places so that I don't have double layer of stitching through here, for instance, and in lots of other places. So you will see if you go to the colour film that I have actually digitize some running stitches here to get from one area to another, and I have also got some funny shapes here because I've used the remove overlaps tool, and it's actually broken my shapes up even more than the individual objects. And if I had my mesh underlay done first, when I use the remove overlaps tool, it would also remove parts of the mesh underlay, and I didn't want that. I want the mesh to completely exist completely underneath this with no gaps whatsoever. So I've designed my design first, and then I've gone ahead and digitized around very close to the edge. So I'll just show you that, and I've just used the closed object tool, and I've used a step fill, And you can use a different colour if you want to, or you can use the same colour and change it to, if you use a different colour you can change it back to the same colour when you're finished. But you just need to go very close to the edge when you're digitizing this. And you can always remember you can always move these nodes later if you need to. But we're going to go right around the outer edge of the design. Now for those of you lucky enough to have the Cutwork software, you can do this in the Cutwork software a lot easier, but you don't need it. If you haven't got it, you can do it manually just by digitizing. I'm right clicking on my curves, and wherever I have to change direction I'm going to left click. So these are all right clicks around here, and you'll notice that I've got my snap to grid on. That was there for when I was digitizing the actual design. It helped me square up and make my design symmetrical. The other thing I used a lot of was the alignment tools to make sure everything was aligned perfectly. So there's lots of tools you can use to help you get a good design. So I'm just almost there, and I don't need to click the last one. I'm just going to press my enter key, and that will create me a step fill. Now of course this is not anything like a mesh. That's okay. The first thing we need to do then is select that step fill. It's right down the bottom, so we know that, so we just select it. And I'm doing this in artistic view so you can see what's going on, but you can do this in design view by going out of artistic view by clicking on this little show artistic view icon up here. Now once we've clicked on that, we can right click on it to get our object properties up, and I want to change the stitch spacing to 4 millimeters. So if you're working in inches you'll have to work out what that is, but I'm working in millimeters because I find that more accurate for changing densities and spacings and so forth. Plus we use metric here in Australia. But you can work in inches, but you'll have to work it out. So I'm just going to type 4 into there, and the stitch length I'm going to reduce because I want lots of needle penetration so that this whole design hangs together. So I'm not trying to just stitch and cover an area. I want these to work as strong little meshes. So a shorter stitch length works better. So I'm going to change that to 2 millimeters and then apply that. Okay. And I've got what looks like a mesh straight away if I move this aside, and that is because I've got underlay. Now I'm going to take the underlay off. There we go, because I don't want underlay. I'm going to create the other part of the mesh manually myself. So the one thing we can see straight away is these funny little lines here, and that is because I haven't used travel on edges yet. I haven't applied that yet, and so in order for the software to fill this irregular shaped design, it's had to move across the design to start and end these lines. And to get rid of those funny little lines running through, all you need to go to is effects and others, and we're going to check the box that says travel on edges and apply that. And straight away you can see that those funny little lines have all gone. Alright. Now, a single line of stitching I find is a little bit weak for my designs, so I prefer to actually apply the double run to this. So I'm going to do that next. Let's just move this box over here out of the way, and we'll go over while it's still selected. We can see it's still selected down here. We're going to go over to our double run icon and just left click on that, and it's gone a little bit thicker. So that has stitched across the design and sometimes it has to travel down the side to get to another area, but it travels down the edges, and then it has overstitched again a second time through those lines. Now I want some lines going the other way, and the only thing I need to do that is select the first object I digitized again. So you'll see down the bottom of the colour film that I've got my first object, and then I've got the double run object, so that this one stitches first, then this one. Now what I'm going to do is duplicate that first object. So I'm going to go up to copy and paste, and I've now got a third object, and it's automatically selected for me. So I'm going to go to my reshape tool. Now the default angle, if we hold our little mouse over our little angle tool, is 45 degrees for the software. So, and I'm happy with that for one direction. The opposite direction to that, going this way, is 135 degrees. So we can do this two ways. We can grab our angle tool and bring it round and fiddle around here till we get to 135 and went to 136. So you can see that can be a bit problematic. I've got it on 135, so I'll go OK. I'll enter, and that will turn it in the opposite direction. But there is another way to do that, and that is to go to the properties of that object, and if you go to General, there is, it's not General, where is it? Stitch angle, it's got its own screen, and you can actually type in the angle you want here. If you find it difficult to turn your angle tool round and land on exactly the right angle, you can just go to your stitch angle in your properties and type in the value there. Okay, I'm just going to go OK there to get rid of that. And so now I've got 3 objects, and I need my double run applied to that last one. So we're going to go over here, and first of all we'll select it. So now I can apply my double run. And if we go down to the bottom of the colour film, we now have the 4th object. So what I'm going to do is group those objects together. So I'm going to select the first one, hold down my Shift key and select the last one. That will select all 4 of those mesh objects, and I'm going to go over here to the group icon. So now they're grouped. What we want them to be is underneath the actual design, and then you can drag that complete mesh to the top and drop it at the top, and there we have it. There is our finished lace design. So how about you go and experiment? You don't have to stick to this mesh, but I know this mesh works, so it's a good one to use to start off with, and then you might want to experiment, and I'll do some later videos on different styles of mesh. There are lots of different styles of lace. If you look at existing pieces of lace you might have in your stash, or if you look in books with lace, there's knitted lace, crocheted lace, broderie, anglaise lace, there's this sort of lace, there's crocheted lace, and each has a different look about it. Even cut work is actually a type of lace. If you go through the history of lace making, it's quite interesting. So to create different looks, you might want to create different ways of joining your objects together with, instead of just a mesh, or you might want a heavier mesh or a lighter mesh. I probably wouldn't go any lighter with a design like this, but you could have even lace that is just running stitches, like a triple run stitch through a very light mesh to create a very delicate lace. So all of that is, basically experimenting, but here's a good place for you to start and get a little bit of a handle on freestanding lace. Now this design could be sewn out as a freestanding lace as it is, Or you could use it as a cut work design, but you would need to then digitize your cutting line that you would sew onto your fabric first, so that you can cut away your fabric and then put some water soluble stabilizer behind, so that it's still got something to stitch through. Or you could even put this on the corner of a serviette, or in a neckline of a top. So then you would need to digitize lines, cutting lines for those areas as well. For the corner of a serviette, you might want to put a placement line, so you know where to place your serviette, so that it actually stitches exactly where you want the serviette to come to. And I might do some demonstrations of that in the not too distant future as well. Thank you very much.